Welcome to the deep dive. We've got an interesting one today. It's a YouTube English lesson, but it's disguised as a job interview.
Yeah, it's a pretty clever approach, actually. Embedding the language learning in a real world scenario like that makes it more engaging, more memorable for the viewer.
Definitely. So we've got this dialogue going on. The interviewee seems to be doing pretty well,
Yeah.
confidently using some good vocab, but then nature calls, like
Adds
literal.
a bit of humor to the situation. Right. And it kind of highlights how those cultural norms and expectations that can really come into play, even in like a language learning context.
Yeah, for sure. It reminds us that communication, it's not always just about the words.
Right.
But for now, let's focus on the language itself. One phrase that really jumped out at me was when the interviewee said, "I believe I have the technical acumen necessary for this role." It's impressive, right?
Technical acumen. Yeah, that's a real power phrase. It's like it shows a deep understanding, you know? A sharp insight into the technical side of things. And the best part is, you can use acumen in other areas too. You could have like business acumen, financial acumen. It shows you're not just knowledgeable. You get it. You're insightful.
Yeah, like you're saying, I don't just know the facts, I understand how it all works. And speaking of understanding, there was another word, Excel. Now, we all know Excel, the spreadsheet software,
Right.
but here it was used differently.
Yeah, totally different. In this case, excel is a verb. It means to be like exceptionally good at something, to really shine. So while knowing Excel the program might be helpful, what you really want is to excel in your field.
Yeah.
Show off your skills.
It's that subtle difference that can really take your language to the next level. And it can be tricky for non-native speakers to pick up on those nuances. Another example I noticed was the use of the word head to describe his previous role.
Right. Instead of just saying his job title, he said, I headed the marketing team. Subtly shows leadership without bragging. It implies he wasn't just part of the team, he was leading it.
Subtle, but effective. And it's something you can use anywhere, not just in a job interview. Now, there was another word that popped up, one that usually has a negative vibe, struggle, but they presented it in a positive light.
Yeah, they did. They acknowledged that everyone struggles with something. It's normal, it's human. What matters is how you handle it. In the interview, the interviewee admits to struggling with time management and punctuality, which is pretty common, but he doesn't stop there. He explains how he's working on it.
Exactly. He talked about going to a time management workshop and how it's helped him get organized, use his time better. It's not just about admitting the weakness. It's about showing you're proactive about overcoming it.
Which brings us to punctuality, which kind of goes hand in hand with time management. Being on time is so important professionally, and it shows respect for others' time.
And it's a good example of how cultural norms can affect communication.
Right.
In some cultures, a few minutes late is no big deal. In others, it's considered rude, unprofessional.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that language learning isn't just about vocab and grammar. It's about understanding the culture, too. The context.
Speaking of context, there was one last word that caught my ear, address. But they weren't talking about a street address, were they?
Nope. Address was used as a verb here, meaning to deal with a problem, to tackle it head on, like I'm taking steps to address my weakness in time management, shows a proactive mindset, a problem solver, which is great to show in an interview.
So we've covered some interesting vocabulary, but what stood out to me was how they didn't just define the words. They went deeper and explained how to use them effectively in a job interview setting.
And that's what makes this lesson so good. It's practical. It gives you real-world guidance, and what better situation to apply these skills than a job interview? The stakes are high.
Absolutely. And they focused on two super common interview questions, the ones everyone dreads.
Yeah.
Why should we hire you? And what is your greatest weakness?
Yeah, those are classics. They can really trip people up, but this lesson gives some great advice on how to answer them strategically, with confidence. Let's start with, why should we hire you?
Okay, let's break that down.
So in the video, the interviewee starts with a strong statement. I think I would be a perfect fit for this company. Notice he doesn't start with because.
That's true. It seems small, but it does make a difference. Why is that so important?
Starting with because can sound a bit defensive, like you're justifying yourself. But by saying, I think I would be a perfect fit, he takes control. He's confident. He already sees himself as part of the team.
It's not just about answering the question. It's about how you present yourself, your confidence, your enthusiasm.
Right. But obviously, you can't just say that. You need to back it up with examples and evidence. Show why you're a perfect fit. Talk about your skills, your experience, your achievements. Be specific.
So instead of saying, I'm a great problem solver, you give a specific example of a problem you solved. and the outcome.
Right.
Show, don't tell.
Exactly. Now let's move on to that other tricky question. What is your greatest weakness? This one can feel like a trap, and people often give the worst answers.
Oh yeah, I've heard some terrible ones, like trying to disguise a strength as a weakness. I work too hard, or I'm a perfectionist. It's so insincere.
Yeah, totally. It doesn't work. So how does the interviewee in the lesson handle it? Honesty and proactivity? He admits to struggling with organization and time management, saying that punctuality hasn't always been his strong suit, but then he shifts the focus to how he's improving.
Right. He mentions that time management workshop again, showing how it's making him more organized, more efficient. It's self-awareness and a willingness to improve.
And that's the key takeaway. Honesty plus a plan for improvement equals success.
And that applies to life in general, not just job interviews. Recognizing your weaknesses and actively working on them, that's important for growth.
Absolutely. Now, this lesson, it's not just about vocabulary. It's about communication, those soft skills you need in an interview.
We'll explore that next. How things like confidence, clarity, even humor, can make a big difference in how you present yourself.
It's about the whole package.
It really is. I'm curious to hear more about that.
Yeah, the whole package.
Yeah.
How you handle those unexpected moments, it can really say a lot about you.
Like when the interviewee has that awkward moment at the end,
Yeah.
he doesn't let a little gas, stop him from doing well in the interview.
Exactly. It's like even in a scripted thing like this language lesson, things don't always go to plan, and it's about how you handle it. Shows your character, your composure.
He definitely handled it well, turned it into a joke, which probably helped him stand out even more.
For sure. Showed he can think on his feet. He's adaptable.
Yeah.
And he has a sense of humor. All good qualities to have.
So it's more than just reciting vocabulary. It's about navigating those tricky human interactions.
Absolutely. The nuances of communication, both
Yeah.
verbal and nonverbal.
So for our listeners out there, whether you're prepping for an interview or just want to improve your English, this deep dive has given you some great tools.
We've covered a lot. Communication, cultural nuances, self-awareness, even the importance of humor.
Never underestimate a well-timed chuckle.
Exactly. And remember, everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. It's about learning from them and getting better.
Keep practicing. Keep learning. And you might even excel at it.
Now, before we wrap up, there's one more thing I want to touch on about this lesson.
Okay, I'm listening.
The way the lesson is structured. It starts with a real dialogue, then breaks down the vocabulary and phrases. Then it gives advice on how to use those skills in the real world.
It's like a multi-layered learning experience.
Exactly. And you can use this approach to learn anything, not just language. Start with a real-world example, break it down, then figure out how to apply it in your own life.
It's a framework for effective learning.
Precisely. And it goes beyond language. Think about any skill you want to learn. Find a real-world example. Analyze it. Apply those principles to your own practice.
That's a really useful takeaway. And it shows that learning can happen anywhere, even in a YouTube video about a job interview.
Absolutely. Speaking of job interviews, let's go back to those key questions we talked about earlier. There's one crucial element we haven't discussed yet.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's about tailoring your answers to the specific company and role you're interviewing for.
Right. You
Yeah.
can't just have a generic answer. You need to do your research. Show them you understand the company.
Exactly. Preparation is key. Before the interview, research the company. Look at their website, social media, understand their mission, their culture.
So when you answer those questions, you can show how your skills and experience match what they're looking for.
Exactly. For instance, if the company values innovation, you talk about your experience with coming up with new ideas or creative solutions.
And if teamwork is important, you highlight your ability to collaborate and contribute to a positive team environment.
Right. It shows you've done your homework. You're not just looking for any job. You're genuinely interested in this specific opportunity.
So it's not just about knowing the words. It's about understanding the context, using the right words for the right audience.
Absolutely. And that's a skill that will help you in any situation, not just job interviews.
Very true. So to sum up this deep dive, we've gained some valuable insights into language learning, job interview skills, and even the broader principles of learning itself.
It's amazing how this simple YouTube lesson has sparked such a rich conversation.
It shows that learning can come from anywhere, and the most valuable lessons are often hiding in plain sight.
Absolutely. And as we always say here on the deep dive, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deeper.
Yeah, it really is amazing how one little English lesson can lead to a bigger conversation about learning and growing.
And it reminds us of something we often forget, the importance of never stopping learning.
Right, like how the interviewee talked about going to a workshop to get better at managing his time. That really made me think.
It's a subtle message that learning never really ends. It's not something you do once and you're done.
No. Especially these days.
Right.
Everything's changing so fast. Jobs, technology, even the way we talk to each other.
Absolutely. The skills you need today might be useless tomorrow. So we have to keep learning and growing.
Stay curious. Be open to new things. Always try to learn something new.
And this lesson, even though it's about English, it kind of reinforces that idea. It's not just about memorizing a few words. It's about always wanting to learn more.
It's like they're saying, here are some tools, but don't stop there. Keep going, keep exploring, keep pushing yourself.
Exactly. And that's a message that applies to everything, not just job interviews or learning a language. It's how you approach life.
So to wrap up our deep dive into this YouTube English lesson, disguised as a job interview, we've discovered some pretty deep insights.
It just shows that if you really pay attention, even the simplest things can teach you a lot.
And that's what the deep dive is all about. We take these everyday things and find the hidden knowledge and wisdom.
We look beyond the surface to find those unexpected treasures.
We remember that learning can happen anywhere, as long as we're open to it.
So to all our listeners, keep exploring, keep learning, keep diving deeper into the things that interest you.
The world is full of amazing things to discover, and you might just excel at it.
Until next time, keep diving.